So we're going to start this episode with a confession time.
Oh,
which actually came out on a different episode, but it won't air till after yours. So,
okay.
sometimes coffee and words is actually water and words, which is really boring.
Is it though?
Because I can't record at home currently. So I actually have coffee today. So this is legit cappuccino up in here.
Oh yes. Well, I went ahead and just bought the largest mug
Yes.
I could possibly find, because number one, I live in the desert and we need water. And yes, this is in fact water.
Okay.
100% water. Baptized. You could probably sit in here and get baptized.
I mean, and in a pinch, if you're in the middle of nowhere and it's a question, there's just only questionable areas to pee. You've got, your own little porta potty right there. I mean, because
#van life. Yep, I got you. No, I literally bought this mug because I was so excited about your podcast that I was like, I live by mugs basically. No matter what I'm drinking, I always drink out of mugs. And I saw this and I was like, this is it. This is the quintessential mug. Like,
big. I love it. Did you see?
I'm not sure how to mail this to you, but I'm going to mail it.
Did you see the hot sauce episode?
No.
Oh.
So now I will after we're done.
I had a mug like that, probably that big. It was like this big. Like I could just walk it in front of my face and it covered like my whole head. And it said college survival. So it wasn't quite as cool as sounds big, but yeah, I had that and it was great. So I'm going to go get
I love me some mugs. So. My normal mug is either this one, love, with my handy dandy heart, since it's almost February.
This one says, with lipstick, it says together. I don't know if we can see that. Yay. Right.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes. You're starting a whole movement, man. I'm telling you, it's gonna catch, and we're just gonna roll with it. Meanwhile, if you just see me struggling with my trough of water,
I'm jealous. Mug envy over here. Okay. Mug envy.
I'll find a way to ship you one. Don't you worry.
All right. Yeah. I'm doing merch. I'm creating some merch and I'm thinking that we're going to have giant mugs. We're going to have regular sized mugs, but now we're just going to have to do giant mugs.
I promise you the shipping is going to be a nightmare, but it'll be worth it.
And then in 2 years, when it arrives to the customers that bought it, or the viewers that bought it,
Yes.
It's gonna be worth it.
Yes. All things.
Well, welcome, Cassandra. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
So, I mean, you just have had such a big life so far. I'm super excited to talk about all of these things. And I mean, you are formerly with the Railers. You and your husband have an amazing songwriting, singing, musical duo. You guys have written some beautiful songs, and now you are with your Ivy and the Wall. So you were formerly the Railers, if people remember you there, and now you're Ivy and the Wall and doing big things. And you guys you've made Rolling Stone lists. You have co-written with, Chris Stapleton. Like, I just could spend like the half of the show on just that. and okay, stop the presses. Mary Steenburgen writes songs.
Yeah, she writes great songs.
I don't know where to go.
It's been a wild ride. And both of those writes were actually really awkward in the beginning because I too was so nervous about those writes. And I was following Chris Stapleton pretty heavily when he was in the Steel Drivers, which is his bluegrass band that he was originally in. And we would show up to like Union Station, all these dive bars where like nobody was showing up, and listen to him just wail. So for years and years, like straight up got slightly fangirly and like went to Nashville Public Library to watch him play. And, and the second he walked into the right, I was just beside myself with adoration. And I was so nervous and I couldn't think of anything. Like I practiced and thought, okay, be cool, do your thing. Like you're also an artist. It's okay to just be cool. And he walks in with this guitar case that looks like something out of Santa Fe. And being from Arizona, like I just got blinded by the light essentially. It was just like, no hi, no, hey, I'm Cassandra, nice to meet you. I just went, I like your guitar case. And that was it. That's how I met Chris Stapleton.
Oh man.
So awkward. And
down to earth. Like he just seems like the guy next door that would be like in his front yard playing the guitar and singing and would like invite you over. And
yeah, so chill. And he's so quiet and so tender of a heart. And it was such a wonderful process. Just like the riot with Mary Steenburgen, she was so kind and chill. And, you know, at that point, it was really early on into her songwriting. And so to be put in a room with her was phenomenal because, you know, she was really interested in the accordion, which is the instrument I played in the Railers. And we kind of bonded on that. And, you know, now she's doing Zoe's playlist and all these really wonderful things with music. But I knew her from What's Eating Gilbert Grape, which is a phenomenal independent movie with Leonardo DiCaprio and freaking, oh gosh, Johnny Depp, biggest cast ever, right? So I knew her as the mom. And then you think automatically Elf and Step Brothers and all these things. So you think comedic female lead, but then when you get into a writing room, just one of the most aware, gentle humans. So yeah, it's been a really strange, weird ride, but very exciting to know that even humans who have succeeded, you know, on all levels here in the US are just so down to earth. It kind of gives you hope, and it excites you to know that there's still people out there that just love the art of songwriting. So yeah.
Yes. Oh man, that's so awesome. So awesome. Well, for people that don't know you very well, give me a little bit of your background. Tell me a little bit about your journey in the music industry.
So my husband and I, Jonathan, who's not here tonight, I wish he was, we basically moved to Nashville as teenagers and knew that music was what we wanted to do for our lives. And so we packed it all up. He moved out 6 months ahead of me. Just worked so hard and had the side gigs, worked at a bank, you know, we all had these side hustles going on to try and make it in the industry. So we moved out super young. Very, very fortunate to have met some incredible musicians who plugged us into the world that was Nashville in the early 2000s. And I get to say early 2000s, meaning like 2005, 6, 7. So it's been a really long road. But we basically did the jobs, formed the original band, which was called Tin Cup Gypsy, which no one could say or pronounce. And it was basically folk music, and Americana wasn't a big thing at that point. So we just kind of got filtered into finding our way through playing 4 hours a night at an Irish pub in Opryland Hotel. And I guess long story short, Jonathan got picked up by Sarah Evans to play violin, mandolin, guitar for her. And she was the most amazing thing that ever happened to us because she opened up a world that we wouldn't have otherwise been in. and Jonathan worked for her for years, which led Jonathan's younger brother, Jordan, into working for Josh Turner.
Oh,
And then it all kind of circled back and forth and made its way into all of us deciding that we needed to quit our day jobs to really focus in on our band. And within 2 years of doing that, we had a major label deal, which is really wild to say. It's rare, but we were fortunate and unfortunate in the same regard. I don't know that we were ready for it, but we did our best, and that's kind of how it came to be. It was just a lot of hard work. They always say Nashville's a 10-year town, and it took about 8 or 9 years to make that a dream where we could play music full time. So it's pretty twisted ball of yarn, but very, very fortunate.
yeah. Wow. And was it hard at all to quit your day jobs? I mean, was that scary at all? I know different people do that at different stages. And, sometimes it's almost like we want to keep a little bit of something to fall back on over here just in case. But also, then sometimes we're ready to let go because we really want to make the big thing happen.
Yeah. I feel like with any business you're creating, whether it's art or accounting, it doesn't really matter. When you get to a point where you're stretched and you're trying to make your day job and your dream work together, there is definitely this gray zone of trying to figure out, okay, have we saved enough money? Or like, it's always playing it safe, right? And at some point, I've joked for 20 years now about flying squirrel, and I'm just a flying squirrel. And at some point you feel so convicted by your art that you realize whether or not people get it immediately, uh, there's still something so important about taking that leap for yourself internally and reminding yourself like you truly believe in your purpose and what you're feeling like you're led to do. And that's where life got really good for us, for a few years, and really wild, and plugged us into these systems, all because we collectively decided, hey, I know you're a side guy, you're doing this. I was doing print work and basically getting hired to this sounds so weird, to cry in music videos. like so many music videos I cried in, and that was what was paying bills. And we were all having these momentum, side gigs, but then we always kept coming back to the music and the message. And that's ultimately why we went, okay, like at some point we're gonna have to try this. And we did. And I would encourage anyone to try.
Yeah, it's very freeing. And then you don't have anything else holding
Yes.
you back. You're going to
Yeah.
go all in for your art. And that's important.
Yes.
And I know that you
Yeah.
guys have faced a lot of struggles and pressures in the music industry, and you've been fairly open about that. What would you say is, a musician or an artist's biggest hurdle in the industry right now?
You know, the music industry is changing so rapidly. And, I came from OG, like old school town where basically we had MySpace. So digital streaming didn't exist. Uh, you know, Major labels were the only place that you could create success. And through that evolution, just in the past 5 years, really, there's been this whole huge world open up with technology. And while we're still trying to get a handle on it, I would say that's one of the biggest, I don't know, unknowns, gray areas. There's just no rules with the industry anymore, which is super exciting, but also really scary. And I don't know, I always try to keep going back to like, what's your heart telling you? What's the music telling you? Where do you feel like your family is? It's not audience, it's family. It's finding that tribe, those people that you connect with.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a, I wish there was a really simple book that I could recommend to everyone watching right now on how to do this or how to avoid things. Maybe I'll write it someday, who
But
knows.
then it would change, if there was a book we could point people to, it would change in a few months because it's an
Yeah.
ever-changing industry. And this has come up multiple times on the show now, the difference between traditional and independent, and how
Yeah.
everything is, there's so many more opportunities now for artists, for writers, for actors, for filmmakers, for musicians. But you're bringing up a good point that with that comes a lot of unknowns. A lot of things are changing. And it's different. And I guess finding your space in that and what works for you is probably going to be challenging, I would think.
Yeah. I, while we're still trying to navigate it, as again, I joke around and say we're OGs, we're not 18 anymore. But knowing that streaming and digital presence is absolutely vital to your music career. I would encourage anyone who, again, is watching this right now and you're still trying to figure out like, where do I start? We also are learning that, but at the same time, I have an entrepreneurial business degree, so I always try to think outside the box. It's just kind of naturally where I sit. Like I listen to the rules, I hear the rules, I read them, and then I go, but what if we could not do that? Like,
Right.
I'm terrible, but that's where this next generation of artists are coming in, where not only do they not have the pressure of you have to get to the top 3 record labels, but then you can also go, hey, not, listen to me right now, not the TikTok is the end all, because it's not. I'm not okay with promoting TikTok right now, but there's so many ways, YouTube, freaking Facebook, IG, all these things. Like, there's so many ways to put your music out there, and there's so many ways to connect when our world's been in shutdown for 2 years now, God help us. And concerts have been just chopped in half, and that digital world is basically keeping music alive, even though it's not paying for music. Don't get me started on that. But it is definitely like one of our last beacons of hope of going, okay, like art matters, like music matters. How do we connect people who are sitting in their rooms or unable to get out, whatever that is? How do we connect together with art? And there's just a wide open space ready for everyone to share their gifts. And I'm actually really excited about it.
Yeah, I know, me too. And we need those connections so much. And I think that art is
Yep.
definitely a bridge that brings people together. It's a very healing
Amen.
thing.
Yep.
Well, tell me, I mean, what are some pressures that you have faced and some of the struggles in the industry? Because I know that you're an advocate for a lot of people, and I want to hear more about that and what you have faced and what you have to tell others that are facing the same things.
Advocacy came through hard knocks. It came through massive depression, anxiety, panic attacks, checking myself into a mental health facility. So when I speak on these things, it comes from a place of being really broken. And it's also another part of what's ugly and beautiful about social media is that we've created a community that if people are withdrawn from society, they can still connect online. So that being said, mental health wise, the industry is really good about keeping life shiny. It's really good about going, oh, if you just put this amount of filler in your face, or if you just weigh this amount, or if you just wear this pair of shoes, or you just get to this level of success, all of a sudden you're going to be in. And as someone who has been in, as someone who has worn the shoes and weighed the weights that you're supposed to, I feel really, really passionate about trying to remind humans that that has nothing to do with the value of your art or yourself or the purpose that you have in this life. It's been a 10-year process of being able to speak that truth in my life. And again, it came with checking myself into a hospital. It came with a lot of therapy, a lot of rewiring my brain into going, what is it about having to look a certain way that I have put so much value in? And as a female, that's the other struggle, like, your original question, the biggest struggle I feel in the genre I was in particularly was that it was so lenient towards image. It's hard for me to talk about it because I feel like now there are some really incredible women who are showing up for that genre. But my experience was very intense. I felt like I didn't wear high enough heels. I didn't have the, sex kitten persona. And that was really hard for me coming from I came from the hood in Phoenix. Like that's where I grew up, 31st Avenue in Maryland. Like I didn't wear shoes half the time and makeup. Like, what is that? And gluing eyelashes. Like I did not grow up in a world that applauded image. And so that was really, really hard for me to adjust to in that genre. And then, all of a sudden the tomato thing came about. Some radio DJ had mentioned that women are the tomatoes in country music. And that sat so bad with so many women who are trying really hard to just be rockers. Like we're just trying to do our thing. And now it's being sexualized. So it was really hard to adjust. And I didn't, honestly, I never adjusted. I never once thought, oh, definitely I got this. Anytime I was tagged in a photo or, praised for something, I immediately looked at it and thought, that's not me. Like, that's not me. And I hope someday, like I can encourage other people to be who they are and not who they feel like society wants them to be. Man, such a long answer. I'm sorry.
No. And I think that detracts from the art. I mean, if you are so focused on your self-image, you are not focused on creating. You are not focused on who you are. And you're doing things to please other people.
Yeah.
That never works. And
it doesn't.
I recently heard a Kate Winslet quote or saw a Kate Winslet quote, and I hope I don't get this wrong. I might butcher it. So Kate,
I'll believe you if you do.
I hope I get this as close to accurate as possible. But she said something about when she was growing up, and I don't know if she was in high school or what, but when she was in school, and that she had a teacher tell her she was too fat to be or that she would never make it because she was too fat to be an actress. And this is Kate
Wow.
Winslet, who
Wow.
I adore, so talented. I mean, she is just incredible at what she does, a superhuman. I mean, she's down to earth. She's so loving and kind and generous and lights up the screen. The fact that somebody would even say that to someone. And it's so funny, you're talking about all of this. And, as much women power as we have in the world today, as much of this that comes to light, I feel like we still have the same struggle. This is not
Yeah.
changing, that women
No.
are, I'm going to say, encouraged to be focused on their appearance because we're constantly feeling like we're not good enough in some way, shape,
Yeah.
or form. I struggle with that. I struggle with
Hmm.
trying to live up to multiple expectations. And so
Yeah.
I don't know how to combat that. I don't know how we are ever going to get to a place where we can just be ourselves. We can be wives and mothers and sisters and friends and
Hmm.
neighbors and whoever we are, you know, that we can just be women. We can be barefoot with calluses and no makeup and messy. Or this
Yes.
does not look like this when I wake up in the morning.
Oh, dude, I haven't brushed my hair in 4 days. I just need to say that out loud. You know, whether you're a mother, a career woman, or anywhere in between, I feel like right now there's such a special potential movement that's happening where in certain worlds, like in the pop music world, female empowerment is massive. And it's very hard, for me as someone who like I don't. Okay, can we have real talk right now?
Yeah.
Can we do this? Okay.
Yeah.
It's really hard for me to see uh it's hard for me to participate in really like scantily clad stuff for me, mostly because I came up from the church world, but then there's also part of me that feels very like it's my body, and I don't feel like showing more of my skin should automatically qualify me to get into the it crowd. And so it's been very hard to navigate that system. Um, uh, Even in the country world where it's more conservative, there's just still certain things that I also struggle with. And I feel like, luckily, again, I keep going back to the new generations of girls. Like I love them so much because they're just who they are, even with all their insecurities and growing up in social media. They're still like confident in wearing t-shirts and no makeup and side ponytails and no brush hair, and like it's so inspiring for me to watch that younger generation. Hopefully, our mothers and our grandmothers who had their own set of setbacks, like maybe we can open up the convo for those kids too, and really, man, it's really exciting to me, which is why I started M Collective, of this concept of be a human, dress how you want, express yourself, come as you are, church without walls. Like, let's do that. Let's start with love, big love.
Yeah. Oh, wait, I have to get together with lipstick.
Yes.
Right here.
This is so obnoxious, but I literally am.
Makeup off. There we go. Oh man. Well, before we move on, I do want to ask you about mental health in the music industry and
Yes.
what resources are available, what you've seen, what you've experienced, and what encouragement you can leave other artists, and not even just in the music industry, any artist in general, any creative in general, because I think it's not just the music industry, it's the film industry, the TV industry, it's the
Right.
publishing. I mean, there are pressures and in all facets of the creative world. So,
Agreed.
what encouragement can you give and what resources are out there?
I'll start by saying I've done it all. I've done teledoc therapy. I spent over a decade in weekly or monthly therapy in sessions in Nashville. I did band therapy, group therapy with our bandmates to try and work through some stuff. And I, again, back then there wasn't the vocalization about mental health that there is now. That being said, one of the most influential parts of my life happened when our band did counseling sessions with Porter's Call. It's porterscall.com. It's down in Franklin, and they, the Wooten brothers are really integrated into that nonprofit. And they also come from a history of addiction and mental health. And to be able to find a space as an artist or a creative that you can come in, whether you're by yourself or with a group of other creatives, and hash out stuff, that was the big pivot point for myself. I think that there's a really great things happening with the Music Health Alliance, not only with mental health resources, but also financial resources. We've all gone, 2+ years without consistent, live show income, and streaming has absolutely wrecked our revenue source. So live shows and merch is basically where artists make their money now. But Music Health Alliance, again, musichealthalliance.com. That's a big one for great resources. I'm hoping that we can create like a slide at the end of this where I have a bunch of links that have helped myself, helped other artists. But I'll say another one is sendmeafriend.org. Sendmeafriend.org. And I just looked into this past month, and if you're struggling with addiction, alcohol, drugs, whatever, this group basically is like a meetup for people who are trying to stay sober within the creative arts. And so you can call up your peeps, just like Alcoholics Anonymous, Al-Anon, and get your tribe together in a sober way. I thought that was one of the coolest things ever, because alcohol and drugs are not forced on you in the music industry, but it's like if you abstain from them, you all of a sudden get put on the outside of things. So to have a resource like that seems so cool and so exciting to me. And then obviously the suicide prevention hotline. There were multiple times where I was ready to call it quits. I was ready to be done with this world. And I feel like just knowing that you can literally call a number and get someone on the line, if you don't feel like you can call anybody else, that act in and of itself is so brave and so important and saves so many lives every year. So that one is suicidepreventionlifeline.org. And those are some of my big resources. But I'm hoping to be able to branch out more and find out more about local nonprofits that provide services to creatives. That being said, I really want to stress something right now. As an artist, I feel like so many of us are wired to feel so deeply and absorb so much of the world around us, and it gets so heavy so often. And that's why you're seeing so many suicides happen in the creative arts and entertainment industry right now. It's so much. It's so freaking heavy. And taking the time as an artist to realize that it's okay to feel that deeply, and it's okay to channel your feeling into your lyrics or your art or your clothing or whatever it is you do. But more importantly, when you feel that, like you'll know when your mind and your heart has had enough. And you'll know that second where it's like, I can't take this anymore. And that's the moment where we as artists get to stop and go, hey, I know I give myself and my feelings out all the time, but I really need help right now. And not, you know, not in an attention seeking way, but just going, hey, there is help and I need it. And it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
That's simple. I wish it was more complicated. So
Well, yeah, we don't have to have it all put together. We don't have to have all the answers. We don't have to have every day does not have to be cheery and sunny and perfect, because
no.
it's not going to be, because we're human. And it cannot be said enough that there is a support system out there. No one
Yes.
is alone in these feelings and these struggles and what they're going through. So many of us have been in a dark place. And I want to see more support, more. And it needs to be said too, that to find someone you can talk to open up about these things. I'm finding more and more, we just close ourselves off as humans, and we don't seek out that camaraderie where we can just open up and talk to people and tell them what we've been through, tell them about our past, tell them what we're thinking and feeling. Oftentimes it's, oh, hey, how are you doing? Oh, I'm great. How are you doing? And then we go on, and we
Yeah.
may have just had the worst possible day of our entire life, but we put on a smile and we say, oh, I'm great. I'm doing good. When we're not
Yeah.
doing good. We're not.
Not at all. Not at all. And I'm glad to see more mental health advocates and more people being, as real as they can be on social media. And I also enjoy watching people tiptoe into the conversation when there are communities that they feel safe in talking about that. So there's nothing wrong with reaching out in social media, and there's nothing wrong with teledoc conferences if you don't feel comfortable meeting someone in person. There's so much technology available at this point. But in the same regard, as comfortable as we've become with being online, there's still something really, really vital and important to be said about intercommunication in person, face to face.
Yes.
Because our brains subconsciously read like 200 things at a time. I just watched this crazy documentary that said our brains basically process 200 things at a time, whether it's scent, sight, sound, emotion, facial expression. And that's something you really can't get over the phone or, on a video chat, and let alone a hug. You remember the last time you had a really freaking great hug? Because everybody's 6 feet. So it's just like, okay, how do we love again?
Just a pat on the shoulder, a squeeze of the arm. There is something to be said for touch. And so this has been a really difficult time in human history where we
Very.
cannot touch each other. We cannot, have that intimacy of friendship and family and love with our community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I always refer back to my mom. She's going through metastatic breast cancer, and it's awful to watch. And she's kept such a positive mindset this entire time. But for her, like, one of the biggest things that I've noticed with her gauge of positivity was that, for a long, long, long time, she wasn't able to go to her sources of love, which were her church and her small groups and the women that she would hang out with and have brunch with. Like, for solid 2 years, she basically got cut off, and then on top of that, every time she was in the hospital or the ER during COVID, no one could go in and no one could touch her, no one could hug her, no one could talk to her. And to watch a human being who's so directly connected with those aspects of human interaction was really revealing to me, because it reminded me that even though we're newer generations, that is so vital, and it really, really plays into the general mental health of people being able to cope with what's going on. So
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking ahead to brighter days. I'm hoping.
oh, please, Jesus. We're all here on this planet together for a short amount of time.
Yeah.
How the heck do we reconnect after so long of being like, oh, everybody's the enemy, 6 feet, distance, distance.
Yeah.
Oh,
And that's one of the
Lord,
things.
take me home.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the goals of this show, is
Yeah,
bringing people together and making connections with people that wouldn't normally have connected. And I get to facilitate that. And that's like the coolest job in the world. So I'm
it
loving it.
is. You're living the dream on a farm,
Right. Yeah.
loving people. Like, what? Oh, I
Yeah,
love it.
it's an interesting, every day is something different. So we'll see. We'll see where it leads. Well, you and Jonathan have been writing songs for film and television. How is that going? Tell me some more about that.
It is, it's like being in the music industry, but tethered to a roller coaster by a zip line. It
Wow.
is so crazy. You can be this close to $100,000 commercial, basically winning the lottery musically. And then in 5 seconds, it just vaporizes. And that's happened to us multiple times at this point. But I would not trade that for anything, because with sync music and what we're doing now, it's created this really big horizon of not just being able to write towards one genre of music, but I'm very much like deep, dark, pop-tastic, strange or random land out in Europe. And my husband's very symphonic, and we have classical music backgrounds. So all of a sudden we started taking Debussy songs and
Oh,
taking them almost like hip hop does, with taking a little loop and creating a new song from it. And that's kind of what we're experimenting with right now. So we've found our place in the world. We've found this really strange, wonderful, mysterious place where songwriters can come and write anything that comes to mind, and then just find homes for it. So I'm I wish so badly that I could have been doing this for the past 10 years, but
tell me about you've got a clothing line, M Collective, and then you're working on a book, a memoir. You've got a lot of exciting projects outside of music. So what's going on? What is Cassandra into? What are you doing?
oh man, I am back into flying squirrel mode. I always my whole life have bit off more than I can chew, and that'll always be my downfall. However, this year felt really important to me, just because I've overcome a lot of mental health um, things, and enough years have passed where I can start being more vocal about that process. And M Collective basically stemmed from getting really upset one day that the genre of music that I had been in for a decade um, was having a really hard time with one of the Osborne brothers coming out as gay. And it really upset me that aside from religious beliefs or personal beliefs or whatever, that there was such a backlash and such a weird thing going on there, when I myself had always been celebrating love and life in humans. And that's kind of why this clothing line launched, was mostly because, that moment in my life, it caused so much frustration, but immediately my brain was like, okay, fine, you can be mad about it, but what are you going to do about it? What you say love, but then you get angry when people aren't loving people. So what are you going to do with that wasted anger? And that's kind of where I started making my jewelry again. I've been doing merch stuff on the road for 15 years with my bands and selling stuff on the side, but then it really made me have to sit with myself and think, it's not just about who you love. It's not just about your age or your skin color or whatever. It's this big encompassing thought that we can just express ourselves fully as humans without judgment. And I know I spoke earlier about being a little conservative and liking to cover up, but that's my voice. That's my truth. That's my expression of myself. But for many people, they haven't had a space where they can feel really welcomed. And that's what I'm doing. That's all I'm doing. I don't have a plan. I'm not trying to make $1 billion. Would it be nice? Absolutely, because then I could give so many things away for free. Like, I would love to be able to basically be Santa Claus. But my mission right now is just to love people where they're at, love their flaws, love their humanity, and just connect other people who maybe wouldn't have connected otherwise. And that's kind of where I'm doing. So I balance this business. We're working on 3 albums right now. It's insane. And then taking care of my mom, and
I'm so glad
that proud.
I'm
Was that?
so glad that you said that,
Mm,
because this has come up recently in conversation for me. Um, we just live in such a divided space right now. And regardless of disagreements, and everybody has an opinion right now, and everybody's screaming this and that back and forth, we have got to get to a place where, regardless of our disagreements, regardless of where we are, that we can come together and still view people as human, because I feel like we are losing that.
yeah,
And
big time.
part of that connection and coming together that we have talked about so much during this chat, that's where I'm at right now and what I want to see happen, because we don't have to agree with everyone on everything to love them and to look at them as a human being and to invite them in, because we're not
Yeah.
going to change anything. We're not going to make anything better. We're not, if we can't do that, and I don't have any answers. I don't have any answers for it other than just love people.
Everybody calm down and
Yeah.
love. Just everybody just get a hug. Time out, hug everyone. Like, just calm down. I joke so much about this, but it's not even a joke. I say, like, sometimes when I can't even watch the news anymore, honestly, I cannot watch it. I read it in 10-minute increments because I really have to cut off how much intense energy and negativity is happening. But I have said this 1 billion times in my house of, like, this world isn't a football game. It's not a football game. It's not us against them. It's not, like, and if you think it is, then maybe also, come on, get a hug. Like, come on in, get a hug. Like, just calm down and stop thinking that everyone's your enemy or everyone's your ally. Like, just stop. Like, just calm down. Love. Just start by this. Hi, my name's Cassandra. I love you. How are you? That's it.
Yeah. And you don't have to agree with someone to love them.
No,
That should be our slogan right now. Oh, yeah.
Love big, not love selectively, not love
Come
particularly,
together.
love big. Yes. Love, love, more love, all the loves.
Well, and you can't solve anything when you're combative.
No.
You have to come together. You have to be willing to listen. If you want to be heard, you need to listen. So
Yeah.
we're all talking over each other right now. And so I won't stay on that soapbox, but I think yeah, I love how you mentioned humanity. And that has just been, that's where my headspace is lately, is loving more and looking at the world is this big open place, but we box everything and we box everybody and we have all these categories, and it's making my head spin because when I look at people, I see humans. I see fellow
Right.
humans, and they're all beautiful in their own way. And so again, I digress, but it's
No, there's no digression there. There's a reason why this is such a parentheses moment of just really sitting in that thought of going, what would it look like if we, whoever is watching this right now, if you take 3 minutes out of their day, like I have a reminder on my phone, it wakes me up every morning and it says, what are you going to do today about love? Which sounds really weird, but it when I'm in my oh my gosh, what's happening mode when I first pick up and then I read that, it immediately challenges me into this. What are you going to do about this? And not just wish there was more love in the world, but what are you going to actively do to start sending that out? And even if it's for one person or 10 people or 100 people, like what are you really truly going to do about that? What does love look like to you in your life? Does it look like making eye contact with the guy at Circle K? Like really making eye contact with him and going, hey man, how's your day? Does it look like, the guy that scares you on the corner, homeless guy who's probably on some kind of meth or something? Like, does it scare you to even look him in the eye or say hi? Like, there are so many minute ways to love humans and connect with them. And I really am truly feeling that also this week. Particularly, I ride my bike to this workshop, just so you know. I'm trying to be more eco-friendly. It's hit or miss, but I ride my bike, and I kid you not, 2 days ago I was riding my bike and this guy, obviously homeless and talking to himself and being real wild, whatever, he's in front of me, and it immediately put my guard on, and I went, okay, how do I get around this person? How do I avoid him? How do I not talk to him? How do I just not be part of any interruption? I don't want to and I God essentially basically kept forcing the situation. He turned around, heard me, because I started singing, thinking maybe that would be a better way for him to hear me coming up on him instead of surprising him.
right.
And he turns around and he's like, oh, hey, blah, blah. And I have my headphones on. I turned them off and I said, hey, I'm so sorry. I was trying to get by, but I didn't want to bother you. And just in that conversation and connecting my eyes to his eyes and being able to have that, 10 seconds of connection really started feeling like, okay, maybe that's important. 10 seconds at a time. Maybe that's what we're here for. It's not to be famous. It's not to walk the red carpet. It's not to get a major signing deal and all the crazy crap I've done. Maybe 10 seconds is what I'm here for. Who can argue with it? Maybe. Okay, now I'm off my soapbox.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, tell me all of your social medias, where you want people to find you. Where can we find Cassandra? I know where I can find, but I want everybody else.
Whatever you do, don't Google me, because my modeling crap will come up and it's bad. No, I'm kidding.
On the next episode of Coffee and Words.
Yeah. What not to do in your 20s. No, it's not that. I modeled for Zappos, so you'll see a lot of catalog clothing or whatever. social media with Ivy in the Wall, with all of our film and composition stuff. It's all at Ivy, IVYANDTHEWALL, Hooked on Phonics, Ivy in the Wall, everything, Facebook, Instagram, blah, blah, blah. My clothing company, M Collective, it is all at We Are AREMEMM Collective. And the Railer stuff, it's still online. It's all at the Railers and super simple. So if you like our country music stuff, if you like film and TV, symphonic, dark stuff, if you like my clothing stuff, it's all there. But mostly, I wasn't going to say this, but I'm going to say it tonight. I'm not a certified therapist or counselor. I'm not someone who can give you medical advice. But if you're really struggling and need a resource and need someone to point you towards something, if you want to just find me on my personal Instagram page, it's Cassandra Joy Lawson. And that's my personal page. And I will be glad to send you towards the websites we've mentioned, you know, the thing that you'll be posting with all the links. I'm glad to help you find resources, because there's no reason why you should feel alone in that journey as an artist, as even a non-artist or whatever. I feel like everyone's artist, but that's another episode.
Yeah, that's a whole other episode. Well, and I would just put that out there too, that if anyone sees this, you know, feel free to reach out to me as well, on my Instagram, send me a DM, and well, because, you know, no one should feel alone or should have to struggle with this alone. So if you're struggling, reach out, definitely.
Yeah. And it's not like I know you probably watched, you know, Instagram reels and all the things, but like, I need everyone to know that this isn't just oh, call us, whatever. No, like, I've had enough combos with old boss lady up here, and I know myself, and I'm telling you right now, like, please, please, please reach out, because there's absolutely no reason, with all the things available to us, that you cannot feel like you can find a community. That's so exciting. That's so exciting.
Yeah.
Not only on your podcast and the webisodes, but these wonderful resources. They're everywhere. And my gosh, I'm so excited. Ah,
yay.
yay.
Okay, well, we are going to, so Jonathan's not with you, and we can't like do a live song on the show, but that's okay.
I know.
I know, I'm sad, but
So bummed out. I'm sorry.
I'm going to preview, it's one of your new songs, right? And it's called Too Long at the Fair.
Yes.
The one we're going to okay. So that will be at the end of this episode. So I want to encourage everyone to stick around and listen to that. So don't just click off, listen to the end and get to hear one of your new songs. And that's going to be, you're going to release it as a single, and it's going to be on the new album. Is that correct? Or
yeah, we call it our marrow song. It's the song that, if the world's burning and we're going down together in a plane, this is the song I hope that we get to hear together, because we've been through so much together. And Ivy in the Wall was created, you know, as a really intimate space for us to express ourselves as a partnership. So the lyrics in that really delve into, you know, where we've been, but also mostly how we've still come together and loved each other through all the craziness. And it literally is the one that has Debussy in it. So you get a little classical music, and that's who we are. So
you guys have a beautiful story.
Thank you. It's very humbling. It's extremely, extremely humbling to be in a position where we still get to create things and also try to help other people out of that darkness, or at least help them process darkness at that point. So it's a big honor. It feels like a big mission, but we're so thankful that we're able to still do that.
Well, thank you for doing that. Thank you
Thank you for having me.
for
Thank
all
you
of
for
us.
creating this place.
Oh,
So great.
well, thank you for coming on. Thank you for chatting with me, for listening to my rants, and
Oh,
for
girl,
answering
you
me.
preach. We can Zoom anytime you want.
All right.
I'm getting ready to make some chemo hats, some special order chemo hats, and just love on some more people. And I am so excited about what you're doing and the community you're creating for people to just hash through stuff. And as creatives, it's nice to have a space where, you ask the questions that help me speak freely. And honestly, this is the first time I've ever spoken about a lot of these things. So thank you for making me feel comfortable. I
Oh,
really appreciate that.
I appreciate you being willing to share that with me. And there's a whole lot more that we could say. And I feel like
Yeah.
that's the last time that we will be chatting. I definitely want you
Yeah.
to come on again. 'Cause
Yes.
there's probably enough material in this episode for like 3
Great.
episodes. Yes. So we'll start here and we'll come back again. I'll check in with you.
On today's 7-hour episode of Cassandra Wants to Talk. Next time we'll do a songwriting behind the music session with Jonathan. How about that?
Nice. Oh, that would be fantastic. I look forward to that. And until we meet again, you guys take care, keep doing what you're doing, and let's chat
You
again
too.
soon.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Yes.
Whatever way the wind should blow, love will always be our home, even at the ending of this dark and lonesome road. You will forever be my darling.
Quarter past midnight, another showdown. There's nobody left but the janitor now, sweeping up half-empty cups left behind by the crowd. Who would have thought that our name in bright lights could have strings attached and a high-ticket price? Barely a moment alone at the end of the night. But darling, I fell in love long before the trucks pulled into town. And I'll still be head over heels when they tear the Ferris wheel down. So let's let the lights fade as we make our escape. Leave our last song in the Darling, we've stayed too long at the fair. So wash off your makeup, put your hand on my chest, quiet the voices inside of your head. Even beauty queens take off their sparkling crowns before bed. 'Cause darling, I fell in love long before the trucks pulled into town. And I'll still be head over heels when they tear the Ferris wheel down. So let's let the light fade as we slip from the stage and leave our last song in the air. Darling, we've stayed. Darling, we've stayed far too long at the fair.